This is going to be the intro to sports card grading. So as this goes along, we'll get into how to grade the cards for centering, edges, corner, surface, but we're going to start with the grading companies. So whether you're buying, selling, or trading, you need to understand a lot of the things in here, and that's how the grading companies work, who they are, who you want to deal with, what they grade, what the cards look like graded, and just some things to kind of go over as you're going through this market. So I'm going to use some of my cards to show you what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there. So first things first, we got a PSA Gem Mint 10. All right, so you see that insignia in the middle. Then you got the brand, player, the type of card, card number, Gem Mint 10, so that's a perfect card with a serial number. That serial number is important because you can use that to look up the card on PSA's website. Back of the card, you have, again, the insignia, serial number, the scan code, and a barcode. And then, obviously, you see the thinness of the PSA holder, but that's what a PSA Gem Mint 10 looks like. Now, obviously, PSA has 1 through 10 grading. So here it is. So I just showed you a Gem Mint 10. They got 9, 8, which is near mint 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Then you got fair 1.5, and then poor a 1. Okay. You also have qualifiers, which are basically things that give the card a number grade if this thing didn't exist. So off-centered, staining, print defects, out of focus, marks, miscuts. And the reason you want to pay attention to that is even though the card has a number grade, it is not that number grade. So you don't want to get tricked by that, which can happen if you're not paying attention. So from there, PSA also cards are autographed. So here's a Pete Alonso, same holder, obviously, Gem Mint 10. The only difference with this card, you notice, is it's autographed by Pete Alonso, and that's how the card came out of the Bowman draft that year and every year. So there's no grade for the auto on this. So something you got to look out for is basically how good does the auto look from a PSA holder with no auto grade. Why? A lot of people send cards to PSA that they don't think the auto is going to grade very well, and they just have the card graded. All right, so you got to watch for the auto when buying PSA cards that don't have the grade. Here's one where the grade is graded of the card as well as the auto. So you see the card is a near mint to mint 8, and the auto is a 10. So this you won't see as often just because this is pretty expensive to have done. But basically that is the equivalent to what Beckett does, which I'll show you in a minute. And again, same back, all the PSA holders, the new one, this is a lighthouse holder. You want to make sure they look like that, okay? There's also older PSA holders, which I'll show you. But here's an example of an autographed card that did not come out of the pack autograph. So this was autographed in person. And you see there, DNA cert. So they actually graded the auto as a 9. The card's authentic because obviously the card's damaged now because he signed on it, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. So that's something to pay attention to when buying. Now you have just basically an authentic card. So this card is not gradable under their standards, but it is an authentic card. So people do that with expensive cards just so you know it's real. From there, you get authentic altered. What does that mean? That means the card's authentic, but somebody did something to it, like trimming it, recoloring it to alter the image. So they put that on there. That's the way that they do it now. They used to actually mark the cards, which you'll see here, as trimmed or whatever it is when they catch it. Okay? So that's PSA's basic formula for grading, what it looks like. Now we'll move into Beckett. BGS, okay, for the modern cards, which is what you're looking at here. Notice you have the subgrades on the card, so centering, edges, corner, surface. Now, PSA uses the same standards. They grade the same things. Beckett puts it on the label, and then they give you an overall grade 9.5. There are no subgrades for PSA except when you get to the 1.5, the lower end card. So they have the half-point grade, which people like. This is what the label looks like for the modern cards. And little bit of a thicker holder, which some people like, some people don't, but that's a basic card. Something new they started doing was grading the cards without the subgrade. So this is cheaper to have done. That's why people started to do it. But when you're reselling cards, this is not ideal, especially from Beckett. I know PSA doesn't have the subgrades, but people don't like to see this. It almost feels like you're hiding something. So this is newer. It's a little bit cheaper to get graded like this, but not ideal if you're planning on selling the cards. Now, for the older cards, you have BVG, which is Beckett Vintage. So they grade the cards. Some have subgrades, some don't. And again, this is just as good as BGS, but BGS is for modern. BVG is for vintage cards. Generally, people like PSA better for vintage stuff, but this is Beckett's version of it. And again, they grade the card. It's the same scale for any card, whether it's 1910 or 2010 or 2020. So it's all the same grading system that they apply. Now, same thing that PSA has is they have an authentic altered version, that blue label there. So again, you don't want to be messing around with those type of cards unless you know what you're doing and you know what to expect, because that is a problem to resell. Now, with the subgrades being shown, you need to pay attention to what they are, because they change the value of the card. So you see this one is 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, and a 10. All right, that card, that's a superfracted, it's 101. But if there's a similar card, this one will be more expensive than, for instance, the first card I showed you, the Rushman, where it was a 9, 9.5, 9.5, and a 9.5. Even though same overall grade, changes the value. So you got to pay attention to that. It's very important. All right. I know, again, PSA doesn't show this, so you say, how much could that make a difference? It makes a big difference in terms of the overall value of that card, okay? I'll show you here basically a very good example of two of the exact same cards, two Zion Williamson bases, okay? So this one has a 9, 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, overall grade, gem mint, 9.5, okay? So on the surface, these two cards will look graded the same. They should be the same value, right? Wrong, all right? This card has 9.5s all the way across the board. That's known as a true gem. So when you see it on eBay, true gem, that's what that means. That is about $200 more than the other one at this point. So some cards, it could be a huge difference, but every card, better the subgrades, better the value, okay? Now you move up in the food chain, you got the overall 10, pristine 10. 10, 10, 10, and a 9.5. So three of the grades are 10, okay? Beckett, it's very hard to get a 10, much harder than PSA. So when you get one of these, they're much more valuable. They're just much harder to come by, all right? So that's what you're shooting for with Beckett. Now, Beckett also has really become the go-to place for autograph cards. So here's a Cody Bellinger purple refractor. And you see, again, cards graded 9.5, subgrades 9.5, 9.5, 9, and 9.5. But the difference now is you got that 10 there. So Beckett autograph. So that card is grading the autograph as well as the card. Okay? You don't want anything less than a 10 on the autograph. Even if the card's a 10, a 9 autograph will kill you. Everything else looks the same, but you have two grades now. So autograph grade and your card grade with the subgrades. So again, here's just another example of that, a Pete Alonso Blue Wave, where the PSA, as you see, that's a Gem Mint 10, no grade, and then you have the auto grade on the Beckett, okay? So again, when you're buying PSA, pay attention to what the auto looks like. With Beckett, it's a lot easier because it's graded for you like this. So you got a true gem there. Again, another Blue Wave that was not a true gem. So with a 9 in there would be less expensive. On the same hand, one with a 10 or two 10s can still be a 9.5. That card will be more expensive, which I'll show you right here in a Bo Bichette autograph. So again, 9.5, 10. But you see there's two 10 subgrades in there and two 9.5s. So that card's not a 10 overall. You need three 10s at least to get a 10, but two 10s are the best subgrades with 9.5, 9.5. You could get on a 9.5. So ideally, if you could buy that, that's your best bet. Again, all these little sub tips help you. Now, here's an important fact. So you see the autograph, 9.5. You notice this one's a little different. You got the 10, 9.5, 9, and 9.5. But you see there's no autograph grade. Okay, great, 9.5. The autograph must be good, right? Wrong. When we look closer, you see that little streak there and another streak. 2 streaks will kill you. There's a few things which I'll go over, in the next videos of what to look for on the autograph, how to grade them yourself. But this is a thicker card, so that's a flawless emerald there, and there's the autograph grade at 9. So they didn't miss it. It's on the back. So if you're just looking at the card, 9.5 autograph looks good, and then that 9 will kill you. Okay, and if you're not paying attention, that will hurt your value. Now here's the same thing as PSA, where the card signed, John Elway, in person. So now you have a 10, but no card grade. So the card is basically ungradable at that point. It's been altered technically, but they grade the auto. So it's an authentic autograph, card's authentic. Same thing here, except there's no grade on it. So again, depending on what the person wants to pay for is why you won't see grades or grades. But that's a Griffey, signed in person, authentic autograph, no grade. You also see JSA, which again is a company that certifies PSA DNA and JSA are the 2 main autograph companies. So they work with Beckett sometimes also. You'll see that. That's what that is. Now, you got a 10 out of 10. So again, same thing as the other 10s I showed you. 3 10s and a 9.5. Pristine. That's what Beckett calls it. 10 out of 10 auto. So that is obviously an amazing card. Fernando Tatis. That card at a 9.5 is probably, about half the value. 9.5, 10. So a 10 and 10 is basically double the value. So that's the difference in a 10 versus 9.5 for Beckett. Now, here's the Holy Grail, the black label. So you see the gold writing with the black label. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 10, autograph, 10, grade. That is basically about 4 times the value of the same card in a 10 out of 10. So if that card was graded without the black label, it's 4 times less valuable. Why? To get a 10 on all 4 of the subgrades, it is nearly impossible. Those are super rare. When you see them, you'll see huge values attached to them, and congrats if you could get them. So again, just as kind of go back, regular 10, which is still very rare. But if that was a black label, that card would be worth about 4 times the value. So huge difference. So you want to watch all these things when pricing and comping things, what things sell for. Now here's some lower end stuff, which gets confusing sometimes. So you see 9, 9.5, 9.5, and an 8 on the surface. The reason I'm showing you this, if you add those up to the average, that's a 9, but you have an 8.5 overall grade. Why? The grade can only be 0.5 higher than the lowest subgrade if the other grades are not 9.5 or above, okay? So that's why it's an 8.5. Same example here, except 9.5, 9.5, 9.5. In this case, it will only be 1 point higher. So 8.5 is the best you get, even though the average is a 10, okay? Why am I showing you this? This is a card surface grade. That is something we're going to talk about in the next videos as we go over what to look for this, where this card is an ideal candidate to be cracked out and resubbed. Why? Because there's certain surface issues that could be taken care of. So this card was at a redemption with Topps, with the sticker on top, sent from Topps, and was sent in straight like that, where basically you take that out, you clean it up a little bit, you can boost the grade. Same thing on the Prism. There might have been a fingerprint or something on there, who knows? Those are crack out candidates. Now here, BCCG. So this is Beckett also. You'll see it's a 10. I showed you 10s. This is basically Collector's Club is what they called it. And what it was made for was a cheap version to authenticate cards. The grade of a 10 means nothing. So don't be tricked by this. It is Beckett. It is a real company. It's them. It's just basically a cheap version. Here's something that's a useful tool, but can get you in trouble also when buying. So this is Beckett Raw Card Review. So basically what they'll do is you'll take your cards before they encapsulate them and you pay the full fee. You'll pay a little less and they'll tell you what they think it will grade. This doesn't guarantee anything. So you'll see people sometimes selling these the same price as an encapsulated card. Do not fall for that. It is not a 9.5 out of 10 because that raw card review. That is just basically an estimation of what they think it will grade. So if you're using this to figure, hey, should I send this or not at a card show, which they do it a lot, that's a great plan. But don't get tricked into paying full price when it is not worth full price of an encapsulated card, okay? Then you have some other companies. SGC is the third in line, and those are their holders there. They are a good company. They grade apparently very strict. Problem is they don't have the resale value of PSA and Beckett, nor will they probably ever. So you want to avoid that. Then you have GMA, which is a very cheap version of encapsulated cards. Real company, but again, $3 a card or something. You don't want to be messing around with that. Then you have every other Tom, Dick, and Harry basically grading cards, WCG, and whatever the names is. You don't want to buy any of these. That grade, throw it out the window. Just like the GMA, you could throw it out the window. The SGC is the most legit, and that you could basically use the grade and maybe resub it, but you won't get the resale value. So that's the problem with SGC at this point. The other ones, garbage. Stay away from. So basically, that was just a quick intro to what the cards look like graded, what kind of the grading is, subgrades, autographs, different stuff. Next videos, we're going to go way into detail on how to find centering and edges and corners and what the companies are actually looking for technically, so that when you buy raw cards, you know what to look for in order to get high grades. I want to finish here with some things to watch out for, even with graded cards. So this is BBC's website, 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan Counterfeit Guide, and they talk about how to detect counterfeits in this specific card, but they have some great resources basically for fake labels and things that can happen. So one, PSA holder, looks legit. They mention here that this can be cracked out. So this is the older PSA style holder, and what they mention there is frosting. So when you see right there on the edges, you get that little white kind of frosting look. That means somebody pried it open. So that Mickey Mantle right there is actually a fake card in a real PSA holder that somebody cracked out and slipped a fake one in. Now here's an example of the flip being fake. So if you see the font, the 2 is a little off and it's a little lighter, and the 0 specifically on the 10. So the card in there can be real, probably is real. Fake flip, the serial number matches up, so that's the trick cue, and you want to be aware of that. So here's basically, you could go to this website and see all the different flips that PSA has used over the years, so that you're aware of what they should look like. So this is a great resource. I recommend you going there and looking at this stuff, because when you're buying stuff off the internet, you need to look out for all of these things. And then they give you a little light test here to shine through to see if the label is legitimate or not. Then he goes over some things to look for in the Michael Jordan card, which will be important right now, because now what you have is a PSA graded 10 Michael Jordan. Great card, big value. Problem though, the Fleer logo is off, as you can see. So while the PSA holder is real, the card inside of the holder is fake. So the person took out the real card, will probably resubmit it to be graded. Now you bought a fake card that is graded a 10. Worthless. So again, cards that aren't serial numbered, this could happen very easily, okay? Now you'll see a Lighthouse PSA holder, the new ones, which are harder to get into, but the card inside is fake. So even the experts sometimes get tricked. So you want to double and triple check, especially if you're spending big money on cards like this. You got to do your homework. So that wraps it up for basically your intro into the grading card world. The next couple episodes, I'm going to break down the specifics of how the card companies get to each grade. What is a 10? What is a 9.5? What is a 9? What is centering? What are edges? What is the corners? And what makes them perfect to not perfect, up and down. So we're going to go into details. I'm going to break up each video into like centering, video 1, edges, so on and so forth, autograph grades. So you could tune in to what you're interested in. Maybe you're an expert in corners, but you don't know anything about centering, or vice versa. That's how we're going to do it. Also tonight, I'm going to be busting